Now let me blow your mind. Those are Congolese Goma citizens that are cheering on M23 rebels that have just defeated the National Army of Congo with their allies in the United Nations, kicked them out, and now M23 is coming into Goma and they are being cheered on by Goma citizens or Congolese people. The guy who is filming is actually speaking in Kiswahili, celebrating that Goma has been taken by M23. And I can hear so many of you are so confused. Why would the Congolese people be cheering on Rwandan rebels that are taking over their city? Right there is where the misunderstanding and misinformation is. M23 are not Rwandan rebels. They are Congolese citizens who happen to speak Kinyarwanda. And Kinyarwanda being a language that has turned them to be called the tribe Kinyarwanda, yet in reality, Kinyarwanda is made up of Hutus and Tutsis who speak Kinyarwanda that have been living in Congo and this particular area of Eastern Congo for thousands of years. And then you will also go to Rwanda and they say that, but even then, the Tutsi and the Hutu are not tribes, but they're actually the same people who did different things and of different classes. One, cattle herders, those were called Tutsis, and then there were farmers, those were seen as lower class, those were called Hutus. I know, that's tiring and confusing, but that's exactly what I'm trying to explain to you. That when you then come into this particular region of Congo, and you say, I'm here to defend Goma from invaders that are coming from outside so that this city can be safe, you're failing to understand that Goma is made up of majority tribes that are the Kinyarwandans, the Nande, and the Hunde, who constitute the majority of the people living in this region that is called Northern Kivu. So those are the people living in the city. Those are the people that are running the city. Those are the people living in the villages and mountains around the city. So when you're a foreigner and you come in and you say you're trying to defend this city from its people, from the tribes and people who live in that particular city, you are like a fish in water trying to fight and defeat the water. You will never win. The guerrilla warfare, the tactics that will be used against you is exactly what America ran away from in Afghanistan after failing to dislodge the Afghanis, because they're going to melt into the people, they're going to be civilians by day, and by night they're back as to being rebels. You will not win that war. And I can hear some of you saying, but we also saw people running away. Yes, they were running away because this is the biggest problem Africa has, is it's a tribal conflict. A tribal conflict where these people called Kinyarwandans who are fighting for their rights legitimately happen to have a very powerful government that also is Kinyarwandan in Rwanda that is willing to assist them in order for them to get self-determination. But why is it that they are fighting? The fight goes all the way back to colonialism. When the Berlin Conference divided, there were certain Kinyarwandans that remained in what was Congo and those that remained in what was called Rwanda. But they were still the same people. And they continued to have good relations with other tribes. For instance, the Kinyarwandans and these guys called the Nande, they are very, very united because the king of the Kinyarwandans, Kiabanda, used to revere the spiritual gods of the Nande. And so they signed a contract that said they will never fight the Nande because they're seen as their spiritual leaders. Now, what Mobutu Sese Seko did is, despite the colonialism allowed these tribes to continue to be united. But when Mobutu came in, he wanted his tribe to continue to maintain power. So he decided to create nationalist laws in 1960, 1962 to say that there are certain of the 140 tribes that are in Congo that do not belong in Congo. And guess what? The ones that were called Kinyarwanda were the ones that were targeted the most because they sound like they're from Rwanda. So he started saying they must go back home. In 1972, in South Kivu, where it is that the Kinyarwandans are not as a majority as they are in the north, they decided to change their name so that they can have opportunities. And they called themselves the Banyamulenge. Calling themselves the Banyamulenge didn't help because they continued to be marginalized anyway. So they were fighting for rights to vote. They were fighting for rights to be in government. They were fighting for all the rights that any other tribe would fight for, and it wasn't working. In 1986, they were denied voting rights. In 1991, when the nation had a national dialogue, they were denied participation in that. And in 1996, Mobutu Sese Seko then gave them a warning and said, get out of my country, otherwise I'm chasing you out. That was part and parcel of what led the war, where the Kenya Rwandans supported Kabila to overthrow the very same Mobutu Sese Seko. So as you can see, this problem starts way before cell phones, computers, drones, and the need for coltan. In fact, I don't even know if coltan was known then. In fact, what was then fashionable was uranium for Nshinkolobwe, which is in Katanga. And that is not the same area. So these people could not have been marginalized by Mobutu Sese Seko because of coltan. And therefore, fighting for their rights couldn't have been associated with the coltan that is now being said is the reason why they are fighting. The moment you say this, there are people who dismiss it as Tutsi propaganda, saying that the Tutsis only came as refugees into our country and they're trying to colonize our country by saying that they were here before. And they even say that the Tutsis are not even Bantu people. There is that Bantu argument that separates us all the time, separates us in Southern Africa, separating people in Central Africa. And they say the Tutsis come from North Africa, they're Arabs, etc., etc. But this is what the Kinyarwandan people say. They say, why is it that there are places that are named in Kinyarwanda all the way back before colonialism if we didn't exist there? For instance, there is Lake Rishwanzige. There is Lake Kivu. And Rishwanzige, you need to understand that the word itself comes from a verb that says huicha. Huicha meaning either to strangle or to kill in Southern African languages. And here it is being spoken by these people that are said to come from Arabia. That goes to show that there are a bit of lies. Not only that, you've got a barrack called Rumangabo. That is a barrack in Congo. A Congolese barrack named in Kinyarwanda. How would that be? We need to unite, guys, instead of this separation by tribe, which continues.